Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to welcome you to the third episode in our Sync with an Expert series. I'm Nadine Flanagan, Inside Sales Manager here at Safran Trusted 4D. And today's session is all about introducing our newest innovation, PNT 360. We're proud to unveil PNT 360, a next-generation solution designed to elevate how you approach positioning, navigation, and timing, specifically with managing and monitoring your network timing devices. Whether you're expanding your existing infrastructure or exploring new capabilities, PNT 360 is built to offer the reliability, flexibility, and performance you need. And to walk us through the features, use cases, and advantages of PNT 360, we'll hear from two of our Safran experts, Ron Dries, Solutions Architect and Systems Engineer, and Dave Sohn, Senior Solutions Architect. After the presentation, we'll dive into a live Q&A segment. Many of you submitted questions in advance, and thank you. And we'll be addressing those, and you can also continue to submit questions at any time using the Questions tab at the bottom of your screen. If a question requires a more detailed response, we may follow up with you directly after the event. You'll also see a few quick polls pop up throughout the session to help us better understand your interests and tailor our answers during the Q&A. And if you get disconnected at any point, don't worry. Just use the same link that you used to join the webinar to reconnect. We're also recording today's event, and the on-demand version will be shared with all registrants and available on our event page shortly after the session wraps up. Thanks again for being here. Now let's get started. I'll hand it over to Ron and Dave to introduce you to PNT 360.
Thank you, Nadine. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 3 of Sync with an Expert. Today, we're going to be focusing on monitoring your timing devices on your network with a software tool that we provide now called PNT 360. Today, I'm joined again by Dave Sohn. Thank you, Dave, for joining.
Thank you, Ron, for having me back. I had a good time last time. Let's do it again.
Awesome. Exciting. So we're going to jump into a little bit of background information on PNT 360 and on monitoring in general, and then we will lead into PNT 360, what it is, some of the details about it.
Some of the features, some of the great things you can do with it, and all our thoughts behind it.
And more, maybe. We'll find out. So a little bit of background. Typically, people, us included, focus a lot on the architecture and deployment of timing networks, but there's an also equally complex and important part of after the deployment when you need to monitor all of the timing devices on your network. And depending on the size of the deployment, that can become complex and complicated all in and of itself. Precise, resilient timing is vital for defense and critical infrastructure applications. These applications require a lot of devices, and so architecting and deploying those networks to meet those complex requirements then ends up resulting in complex requirements for monitoring. So once these devices are deployed, how do you manage them? How do you monitor what's happening with your timing network so that you can react to potential issues before they become problematic? And just kind of get an overall health and status of your timing network. All of the Safran timing devices, such as the Secure Sync 1200 and 2400, VersaSync, White Rabbit, Zen TPFL, the Z16, our White Rabbit switch, all have functionality that allow to manage at the device level. So some of those features are SNMP for notifications and querying data. REST API, so allowing you to capture status information as well as do configuration in a machine-to-machine interface, as well as syslog for having the devices remotely send logs out to a remote syslog server. This is great if you have 1 or 2 devices that you need to manage, but once you start to manage large numbers, or if you want to correlate the data between any number of devices, there needs to be some centralized solution to make that easy, to allow users to get access to that data, to visualize it, to do useful things with it. And that's where PNT 360 comes in. So Dave, can you give us some detail on what PNT 360 is?
Yeah, so PNT 360 is a new software package available from Safran. It's available right now that you can download and use. And it's a comprehensive software solution for, as you said, this centralized management and monitoring of those Safran timing devices that you talked about in those deployments that can be complex to set up, complex to configure, and then complex to manage and monitor, which is critical for the applications that our devices are used in defense or critical infrastructure. Knowing what's happening in terms of your performance, in terms of events that are occurring, is critical to maintain not just the precise timing that you need, but the resilience that you need in those applications. So you can think of PNT 360 as the central command center for this resilient timing network that you've deployed. What's nice is all it needs to operate is network access to those Safran devices. Using the APIs that are already present on there for remote monitoring, but now a Safran solution for pulling that together in this complete solution. So this software package installs in your environment, in the customer environment, on premise, on some customer system that you have. It runs on Linux. We say about the age of Ubuntu 2004 or later. And that can be on a physical server that you have in your environment. It could be on a virtual machine. That virtual machine could be in even an on-premise cluster that you might have, or even a virtual private cloud. As long as it has network access to the devices that it needs to monitor, that's all it needs in terms of that capability. The other piece of it running just on a virtual machine is, while it can't run natively on Windows, it can run in a Linux virtual machine running in a Windows environment.
Yeah, which building on that a little bit, is important to note that as long as it has the network access, we have tried to provide a solution that can run on many different systems in many different environments, knowing that there are certain requirements for networks and IT departments that allow Windows only or have restrictions for Linux. Try to give as much flexibility as possible so that we can meet as many use cases and applications as possible.
Well, it turns out, right, the timing network isn't the only thing complex about these network deployments, right? It's all those other servers and infrastructure that's around them, right?
Perfect. So yeah, thank you. So going into, now that we know what PNT 360 is and how to deploy it, I guess one important note on that deployment is it is currently available free of charge on our website. So there is a form on our website that we'll be showing now that you can fill out to request access, and we will encourage you to do that because we are looking for feedback on how it is and things to improve. We'll go into that a little bit later when we talk about the features and functionalities, but I did want to note that it is available now, and if you do see a need for your timing network or do want to try it out, please fill out the form and we'll be happy to work with you on that. So now that we've covered what PNT 360 is, how to get it, how to install it, some of the requirements for it, we want to transition into now, how does it work? So at the beginning of this episode, I touched on each of the timing devices supporting several features and functionalities that help monitoring. That was important to highlight because now when we talk about how PNT 360 works, it utilizes SNMP as well as the REST API that's built into our timing devices to get metrics and also allow configuration from the centralized tool.
Well, it turns out, right, the same APIs that we use for other people to monitor these devices remotely, obviously we're going to use that as well, take advantage of those things.
For sure. Yes, so in that centralized monitoring, it allows for not only monitoring, but also management. So when you do add a timing device to PNT 360, it requires an IP address or host name to get to, and it requires a user, so credentials, so username and password. One note, important note for creating or adding a device to PNT 360, it is recommended to create a user on your Safran timing devices only for the PNT 360 instance. This is because our timing devices require only one active user session in the web UI at a time. So if you were to use SP-admin for PNT 360 and then have to go into your Secure Sync 2400 to configure it, when PNT 360 goes to pull status from the device, it will inadvertently log you out, which then could be problematic.
Well, I mean, it's a security feature,
Yeah.
right? You shouldn't be sharing usernames and logins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in general, in your
In
network
general, yeah.
devices, well, that goes the same way with PNT 360 and with the timing devices themselves.
Yep.
Another added benefit that I want to, be clear on, because PNT 360 also can do some configuration and pieces like that.
Mhm.
It's good to have a separate username, separate credentials, because then the journaling on the device, you can see that
Where it came from.
configuration happened through the PNT 360
Yep.
user and not from, a local user that's on the device.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good to know who is doing what in
Absolutely.
terms of configuration. But it also is good to know that if you're randomly getting kicked out of your timing device, it might be because the PNT 360 is trying to pull status from it. So it is an important thing to note. And it goes hand in hand with making sure that PNT 360, wherever it's installed, has access to all of the timing devices on your network so that it can help centralize and monitor all of those. And we'll go into how you can lay that out shortly. But once the timing device is added into PNT 360, any of the metrics that PNT 360 allows you to pull can be added to a dashboard to visualize those. Now, the visualization is key because for those of you that may have had our timing devices over the past decade, or for those that may just be getting used to and learning our devices now, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of information. It's tough sometimes to tell which of that information is useful for which applications. Even in a similar deployment, one user may be interested in the timing aspect, and another user might be interested in NTP status and or doing the LDAP or Anycast or network configuration. So having views tailored to each of those across all of your devices is a very powerful and useful tool. And another added benefit is in directly inside of PNT 360, you can open up, you can click on the device once it's added, and it will open up in a new tab the web browser for that device. So now all from one location. There is no longer the need to manually navigate to each IP address of the device, open up 10 tabs, switch between tabs. It can all be done through PNT 360.
Yeah, that's actually a really powerful thing, especially as you get these larger deployments, actually even small deployments. I don't know, I've used even the lab when I'm going through a couple machines, having to go to every IP address, log into the UI individually, do configuration and that sort of thing, it becomes problematic.
Yep.
It's time consuming. You have to remember all those IPs, of course. It's doing the configuration. So like if you're going to set up SNMP, it can set that up for you. But then you can go through and do some of the regular management and configuration that you would normally do on device. You can now do through PNT 360 and through the REST API calls in order to manage that. Another thing that's nice from the metrics perspective is it's important to collect all those metrics so you can go back and see what's happening. And we'll touch into a little bit of how that looks and what you do with it. All of those metrics are being recorded into PNT 360. So even if you aren't currently using them for the dashboarding and things like that we'll talk about, those metrics are still recorded in the database within PNT 360. And so you can add those later if you need to look at them because of that.
Yeah, actually, before we continue, and I don't mean to interrupt you, I do want to note that in this initial version of PNT 360, there is some limited configuration. Not everything that's available in the device web UI is available through PNT 360 yet. In the future, there could be, but it does do SNMP, it does do NTP, it does touch on major functions.
Yeah, so the majors,
Yes.
the system functions of the device, as well as some of the key references, like GNSS, the network timing, those things you can do from the PNT 360 configuration pages. Some of the very specific and niche
Yep.
features that might be on the the timing devices, you may still have to go
Yeah.
onto those devices to do that.
Mhm.
But what's nice is you can click out of PNT 360 to get to those devices. So we have links when you have added those devices
Mhm.
into the software. You can click through to get to those devices, those UIs
Mhm.
directly in order to do any of that configuration
Yeah.
that you might need.
And there still is that need for initial configuration on devices for networking and things like that, or at least uploading pre-saved config bundles. So it does make life easier, even just getting to the devices. And there's always going to be some sort of manual configuration that's needed, at least in the beginning. But it does make life easier. So moving on from that, now that we've talked about configuration for a little bit now, is now moving from the devices into what you can do with PNT 360 itself. So we've talked about being able to visualize the data. We've touched on the variety and amount of data that the timing devices can provide. How do you visualize that? And PNT 360 allows you to take any of the devices that you've configured it to communicate with and put those into different customizable dashboards.
Customization is key in PNT 360, not just in the dashboards, but also in the visualizations that we can do. So in any of the metrics that we have that are collected by PNT 360, we can then visualize differently kind of how you want to see it. So if it's a moment in time, you can have a data card or a gauge that can show kind of a snapshot of what that looks like right now. But let's say it's more of, trending or historical. That's where you would use some of the line and area graphs to see how that metric is performing over time, or a group of metrics compared together, how that's going to go. Another great thing that we had is almost taking snapshots of the device UI in the status panels. So for example, disciplining, so right, it kind of collects all the information that you would normally see in the device UI around disciplining, and now you can put that kind of status panel right there in your dashboard. And this is great for setting up these dashboards to give you that visualization how you want to see it, the metrics that you want to see together. And that can be in the same device, multiple metrics together, and while we have it in the UI, let's say on device in one way, maybe that's not what you're looking for, not the comparison that you want to see. I want to see the phase error, right, happening over time, but related against the temperature, and I want to see those right next to each other. Or, it's network timing, and you want to see, the bandwidth or the data utilization on that port against the performance that it's getting, right? And so it's mixing and matching those metrics how you want to see it, and not only in the details, but also summing that up. So you can have at-a-glance dashboards, as you said, or you can dive down and have more detailed ones for seeing on-device, but also comparing devices. So what does this metric look like across all the devices, or in this chain of devices that I have in this deployment?
What's nice is some of those status panels we have in PNT 360 are very similar to status panels you'll see in our web UIs for our timing devices. So the look and the feel is the same. So it's easy to, if you know what you're looking at in the device itself, when you look at it on that dashboard, it should be intuitive and easy to pick up. And then from there, you can generate different views. And we go into one of the most powerful things of PNT 360, especially across large deployments, but as you mentioned, even smaller deployments, being able to compare devices and how they're performing timing-wise. You can review different metrics over different time periods. So for example, if you're looking at the phase error of a secure sync, you can compare the phase error recorded by 6 secure syncs, all on a graph, see the same history. And to do this before, I used to have to download all the data, compile it into a spreadsheet, put it all on a graph, and it was cumbersome.
Or you have like multiple UI windows up that you're trying to coordinate between. It's a pain. I'll admit that, right?
Another great feature of PNT 360 is its alert and notification functionality. Historically, our timing devices have had the ability to send alerts based on events that occur in the device to notify users when some action may be needed be taken, or that something's occurring that requires their attention. Because we're centralizing all of the data per device in PNT 360 and we're able to visualize it all together, we're also able to configure threshold-based alerts for any of those monitored metrics, and then have it so that those alerts pop up in the dashboard themselves that a user has to interact with to clear. Or you can also configure email notifications in PNT 360 to have PNT 360 email you if the alert is occurring, has crossed your configured threshold. If any action then needs to be taken on the device directly from PNT 360, you can get to that device and start to see it, what's happening on a per device level. But because we are also combining all this information into PNT 360 itself, this can help with debugging as well. Because as you get an alert, you can then start to look and see, is it only impacting one of my devices on the network? Is it impacting all of them? Is it impacting a subset of them, which then could lead to more questions? But it allows all of that visualization and all of that monitoring to be centralized to allow you to get a holistic picture of what's occurring with any of your timing devices.
You know, what's interesting is, I had mentioned it before, I think, is that the PNT 360 collects all those metrics, even if you haven't put it on your dashboard or in your visualization. So let's say that you get an alert and you're tracking it through, you can add more metrics that have been recorded and see that history as well, and even trace through on data that you weren't visualizing at the time of that alert, because now that data is all collected in the database on PNT 360, and we can do that. It builds into this, you know, real notion of, now that we have this data, what can we do with it?
Yep.
You know, and once you have it in place, there's all sorts of things that we can do with it, and all sorts of things from the alerting, the notifications, the visualizations, and future things.
Yep. And not only just device metric data, but also log information from each of the devices. We have a widget or an element in PNT 360 that allows you to aggregate any logs from the devices, as long as they're configured to send those logs to PNT 360 through syslog. We can aggregate all of that in one view, which also will help with debugging, with also trying to track down, you know, how the devices are functioning, how they're performing, and then see it all in one location, and be able to base decisions off of that, or see what's occurring, and see in the log files around the time that event happened, what might have been happening throughout the system.
Right, you know, just, you know, you get that notification, and it's not just tracing back through data, it's tracing back through the logs and seeing what's happening here, seeing how that goes down, you know, upstream, came from upstream or flows downstream. You know, it's not just the performance and not just that, but knowing what's happening on system via these logs, you can track that through as well.
Yeah, for sure. All of the many years of debugging these timing devices, it has always been a chore to go to each individual device, download the logs, find the log file you're looking for, find the exact time you're looking for, and then go through all the other logs to try to work back through what occurred. And then that was just one device. Now you have to do it for multiple, keeping those all organized, making sure you're looking at the right log file that applies to the right device and not mixing and matching them. PNT 360 allows us to visualize that graphically, and then also allows you to aggregate those files, the log messages, into one visual element that then can ease that debugging and help to find out, you know, what was happening, not just per device. Did it occur on multiple, which is a lot of time and a lot of effort, and, you know, it's a lot of organization as well, trying to organize which logs come from which devices. Having this functionality in PNT 360 allows to track and kind of see throughout the entire deployment, was it just one device? Was it multiple devices? Did it wave across them, or, you know, anything like that? It allows, you know, added visibility into what was happening, not just at a single device, but across the entire deployment.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a perfect example of the complexity that's coming in these deployments, right? You know, these devices aren't sitting in isolation, right? You know, they're connected to all of the other devices to give a chain of timing or a tree of timing, or a star, however you do the shape in your network. But you need to be able to track that as it progresses through those events. The performance doesn't just stay within that device. It then, cascades down to the other things. And so thinking about that, we added some other interesting features in there. Actually, right next to where you do your device configuration, we have a great feature called our topology visualization. And when you add a device into PNT 360, it then will appear in your topology. And as much information as we know from the configurations that we've been able to pull from those devices, we can see the references. If they're network timing references, NTP, PTP, White Rabbit, we can actually visualize the connections between those devices and show those on the topology. And so you can see not just the devices in there, not just the data that's coming in, but get an idea of how these devices are connected to each other in order to build out the idea and visualize that flow, the timing flow. And of course, now that we have that information, that gets into the capabilities of reporting, doing time traceability. So not just yourself building these dashboards and understanding, but the PNT 360 system being able to understand the deployment that you have. Right now, it's really with the network timing deployments, but to be able to build out that traceable path to know what's happening across your monitor devices and see in a reporting instead of just in graphs and stuff like that, having a saved report that shows over the time period of that report, the monitored systems, the configurations of those systems, how time is propagating, the buildup of errors as it goes through, because of course you want to make sure that you're staying within your time error budget for whatever application. And then importantly, looking at certain events, so source transitions. Oh, it switched from this reference to this other reference during that reporting period, which is critical when you're having to go back and analyze or audit this network. If you need to keep that internally, or maybe you have to provide that to some third party, it's important to have these periodic reports that then you can extract that from the monitoring system and be able to provide that to someone. And as you said before, this is available now, but we haven't stopped, right?
For sure.
There are future capabilities that we are looking at, and I mean, as you said, we want that feedback too. So, take advantage of downloading PNT 360. It's free. Use it in your deployment. Look what you like. Look what you want. Provide that back to us. This is really the beginning of a platform that we can use, because now that we have all that data and we build up these visualizations, you can see we've already started things with the traceability reporting and the topology. There's a lot more that's available, that's out there, right? But we want to know which direction that makes sense for our customers, because that's really who this is for, is for you, our customers, to take advantage and improve your knowledge of your deployments, the resilience of your deployments, and supporting those as not just the architecting and installation, it's all the maintenance and management once that's in place.
Absolutely, yes. Again, it's a great point. A lot of the work seemingly stops once it's deployed, but then there's always things that come afterwards, and making it easier to manage and monitor our devices is what the goal of ours is, and so that's why we've put all this effort into PNT 360. And we appreciate you attending to learn about PNT 360. Dave, thank you for joining. I think we've hit the end of our presentation period. So we will now transition over to the live Q&A, but I did want to say thank you for joining me again, and I'm excited for questions.
Oh, I'm excited for questions too, to see what people are interested in.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And
Thank
we're
you.
going to hand it back over to Nadine.
Thank you, Ron and Dave. That was an excellent presentation and a great introduction to everything PNT 360 has to offer. If you would like to know more about PNT 360 and get a live demonstration, we will be exhibiting at the APCO Trade Show in Baltimore, Maryland, July 27th through the 30th. Come meet with us and get a firsthand look at what PNT 360 can offer you. Now we'll begin our live Q&A session. Your chance to ask our experts any question about PNT 360 or anything else related to your timing needs. Once again, I'll hand things back to Ron and Dave to get us started.
All right. Thank you, Nadine. We are now transitioning from the presentation portion into the live Q&A section. We have now set up a live demo of PNT 360 to help guide our answers to the questions. As a reminder, you can enter your questions into the chat. We are here to answer any timing-related questions. I know we have several on PNT 360, and we're going to jump into those right now. So, with the first question, is there a trial for the software and can it run a Windows VMware? We did touch on this a little bit in the presentation. Dave, did you want to?
Yeah, so there is no trial for the software. We do have it available free to download through the link that came up earlier in the presentation. And yes, so the PNT 360 runs on Linux, but that Linux can be a virtual machine that then can run on a VMware system running on a Windows.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Our next question, how will PNT 360 integrate with other currently used monitoring solutions that cover non-secure SIG network elements? So PNT 360 does currently only support Safran timing devices, but because it uses similar protocols to other third-party monitoring solutions, SNMP, syslog, the REST API, as we talked about in the presentation, as we can show here live, it can be a supplement or it can live alongside of those monitoring tools. So because it's specific to the timing devices itself and not very generic, you can use some of those other third-party monitoring tools for more generic monitoring, maybe higher level network monitoring, and then utilize PNT 360 for specific timing related monitoring. As we talked about in the presentation, we have some elements built in for log aggregation, the timing device reporting, so the time traceability reports, some of those things that could potentially be implemented in through scripting, through using our REST API and other services are already built in. So it makes ease of configuration and use of our timing devices and monitoring better, hopefully a better user experience as well.
Yeah, so this is obviously a purpose-built monitoring system for our timing infrastructure. We are well aware that a lot of customers already have centralized monitoring systems for their network elements, for servers, things like that. And so we are looking at, in the future, supporting both importing information from those other monitoring systems, as well as having means to export and connect PNT 360 to those other monitoring systems.
Yes, and I guess as a follow-on to that, if you do have interest in seeing how we can maybe work with or integrate with another monitoring solution, please send those requests in. We'd be happy to look at them and see what it would take and maybe get it in the roadmap going forward.
Absolutely. So this feedback is what helps us drive this roadmap. So it's really important to contact us, and we love these questions that come in because this is exactly what we want for this sort of thing.
Perfect. Awesome. Moving on to the next question. Can PNT 360 be part of an Ubuntu VM image or virtual disk for VirtualBox, VMware, or Hyper-V that could be provided? So the short answer is yes. Obviously, we could provide a virtual disk with it pre-installed. The trick there is in the licensing and some of the administrative details with that. Also, if there are security requirements on the end user end, bringing up a virtual machine might be difficult. So currently, we provide the software as a Debian package only, and have it so the end user, our customers, can install it on a machine that they manage themselves, be it physical or virtual, or even in the cloud. But we are always open to working with customers and users on whatever makes their lives easier. So although there would be some technicalities involved, it's not completely out of the question.
Yeah, and as initial, what we've talked about putting together is at least some notes, you know, an application note, a guide on how to set this up yourself if you're going to put it into a virtual machine image. Of course, working with virtual machines, it's almost the same way as you would within a regular server that's running this. The pre-packaging, we still have to look at. There's a couple issues around that before we would be able to provide something and maintain that.
Maintain it and then make sure that it has all the right packages and security and stuff like that. But definitely something that we could look at going forward if it makes sense. Great. All right. Next question. What do you need to set up the monitoring for NTP clocks to manage this for the most important events?
Well, so this is a very broad question. This is like, I have a NTP time server. What do I need to do to get it set up for monitoring? Well, so a lot of that, of course, will depend on the actual infrastructure that you have. In the regular sort of instructions, in order to work with PNT 360, we need to have the web UI running. So that means you need to have, generally, we would recommend HTTPS. So have that set up with any certificates that you might be placing on. Having SNMP set up or running, having the syslog configured. And then in PNT 360, on that side, it starts off with adding a device. So there, Ron, so you would add a device in here, putting in the type of device that you would include, so what is the actual product you're integrating with, putting in, obviously, the IP address, username and password, and then information on what you're going to do for SNMP and things on colors, et cetera, that you want to do. Then what's nice, so if I go back out of this and look at one of the existing ones, click on the edit there. So, I'm sorry, come back out of that. Once you have that information set up, what's really nice on the PNT 360 is you can just enable this metrics collection, and it actually will do some of the configuration for things like SNMP directly on the system with the username and password that it now has. So it's able to set up the monitoring and bring that up directly.
See that here, in that this is what PNT 360 has configured SNMP on this specific 2400. It uses default credentials, which you can change in PNT 360 itself. It adds these to the SNMP configuration on the timing device without touching any of the other configuration. So you could do this in an already running timing environment. Obviously, it's always better to make sure it's in a maintenance window just in case, but it only does touch SNMP, and PNT 360 configures itself for that so that it can pull all of those elements.
Right. And then now, once you have your device included here, you can then start adding the panels. And these panels really depends on what you're really interested in. So, so here we have some examples panels. So we have some general status panels here. So you can see a few of the White Rabbit products panels giving information on references and sync state, which is critical to know. Here you can see an example one for 2400s with very similar information on there. And then it goes into what are you tracking on this? So it might be GNSS. So you want to see, okay, what are the satellites I'm doing? How much detail do you want in there? You might be looking at, well, you should be looking at things like alarms on the system, power status, references, time error. You can have some of the graphs running showing your phase error over time. Really, it's what is important to you, and that's the ideal here. Is this is configurable to set up these dashboards for the kind of exact information that you're looking for to track.
Yep.
So here we can see where you would add those metrics to add those panels into the system. So we have some pre-built categories that you can go through and say, okay, well, it's an NTP device. I select it and I hit add, and it'll add a selection of NTP statistics, NTP metrics into panels.
If you go to the expert tab, it's a quick way to show you all of the different sort of things. It's a giant list where they're all mixed up, but you can also search by keyword too to kind of filter through it. But
and then also filtering by categories as well here.
So coming back to the question, because we definitely covered a lot. For PNT 360, the base thing that you need to do is set up the communication with the device. So using the REST API, so it'll need a user and a credentials on the secure sync so that it's able to get access and do that configuration through the REST API. And then it starts pulling all of the information from SNMP and the REST API. And then it's the end users can create to their heart's content dashboards, whatever they want to lay out, what they want to see. We touched on it a little bit in the presentation. I want to highlight it again. PNT 360 does need because it does need a user that can log into the web UI. We recommend doing a separate user from all of the other ones because we only allow one instance of a user to access the web UI at a time. So you don't log yourself or others out. But also at that point, it's pulling all that data. As Dave mentioned in the presentation, we're storing that. Even if you're not displaying it in the dashboard, we still have it in the database on the back end that you can always pull up at a later date. So yes, very vague. I think we covered
There's a lot there, but
all aspects of it.
what I love about like these open-ended ones, it allows us to really kind of, play and show a bit of the system.
Yes, for sure. And I guess before we move on to the next question, if you do have anything that you would like to see us demo or at least try to show off, please throw it in the questions tab. You may have already done that. We are slowly working through questions. So let's see. So this question, is it extensible to code adapter for custom devices or open sourced? And is it possible to add non-Safran devices like standard NTP and PTP servers? For the time being and currently, it is only restricted to Safran devices, so the ones that we listed in the presentation. That's not to say that at some future point we would not add other devices. We are looking at those. We're trying to find, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, we're trying to find what the, I guess, next best items to add in. And this is where you as end users could kind of help give us some direction.
Yeah, so we're looking at kind of what's the right way and the best approach to support additional non-Safran devices. Obviously, there are complications that come in with working with third-party devices. The PNT 360 is proprietary, so it's not open source. But we're looking at, okay, how can we open some things up potentially for the user, the customer, to add their own devices in, and we're still investigating that. So more to come on that. But right now, yes, it's limited to the Safran device that we did talk about in the presentation.
Yep. Yeah, and we also don't have a way to allow custom things to be added yet, along with the open source. Just to touch on the two parts of that first question. But thank you, Dave. All right, next question. No, we just touched on that one. It was a similar question to the one before about third-party devices. So we will move on. We are planning to do a PNT demo today. We have a live demo. So thank you for that question. And we were able to plan ahead, which is nice. All right. Oh, we have an interesting question on alerting. So this question, can the alert be something like when a device A's temp is 5 degrees higher than device B, send an alert? Or if the time difference between secure sync A and B is more than 100 microseconds, send an alert? Or is it just standard device thresholds?
Yeah, so right now we don't have the capability for doing complex alerting within PNT 360. So as we showed in the presentation, it's, let's say right now it's simple threshold alerts. So we have a metric that's providing some value. We can provide an alert on, okay, has it exceeded this value or gone below this value, depending on the type of value. But these are independent of alerting or alarms that may occur on device. So these are alerts that are set up within PNT 360 for alarms that are on device. We are seeing those. So you can see, you can have panels like this that would have, this one says pending major alarms in this 2400 in particular. So we can track alerts that are happening on device independent of the threshold alerts that get set up in PNT 360.
Perfect. Okay. For the alert and notification functionality, can it be configured to give custom messages?
So right now it's the canned messages that are really based on the threshold. So this metric exceeded or fell below this threshold. That's what appears in the UI. So in the PNT 360 screens, as well as if you have email configured for notifications, that would come through on the email as well.
Okay, perfect. Does the PNT 360 maintain a complete inventory of all installed option cards and their corresponding serial numbers? Currently, obtaining the serial numbers can only be attained by reading it off the module itself.
So there we go, and
I think it's extensions.
Yeah,
So for the first part, we do, so because the PNT 360 is using the REST API, we are able to pull the current configuration of the device. So we can see not only the current software and serial number of the base secure sync itself, the software version it's running at, some of that. We can also see the installed option cards, what their name is, what slot they're in. The issue still is we're not able to pull the serial numbers of the option modules themselves through the web UI.
For option cards that do have serial numbers, we don't have that extension to pull in the serial numbers of those option cards themselves. But
PNT 360 is still limited currently by what's available in the web UI. So if it's unable to be pulled or seen in the web UI or SNMP, it won't be displayed here. Okay. Awesome. Will there be expanded REST integration with PNT 360, or is that still per device?
So I'm not sure I get this. So what I'll say is we are, so I'll start on one side. So from the device side, we have multiple mechanisms to get information from the devices. Actually, the little eye icons here, when you see a panel, whoa.
That's what we get for doing a demo.
Yeah. So let's say, why is it?
Maybe, yeah.
There we go. I have to hover over it. Okay, perfect. So here you can see there's a mix of ways. So this metric that's coming here, if you hover over the information icon, you can see information about how it's being collected, that metric. So this one, you can see this is over SNMP, and here we have the SNMP OID that's pulling that. Let's say I go to another one here. This one, for example, is a REST API call into this device to get this information. Okay. Now, if we take this potentially the other way, we don't currently have REST API functionality into PNT 360. We talked earlier about potential integration with other monitoring systems. As we look at how to get information into PNT 360 and information out of PNT 360, REST APIs may be one of those mechanisms that we have. We don't currently have that.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, please let us know if we didn't answer the question properly or send a follow-up email. We'd be happy to talk. I did also mention in a previous question that we are sort of limited to what is available in the web UI and SNMP. So if that might be also where this question's coming from.
That's true, right?
Yeah.
So if, generally speaking, the way the products are set up, if you can see it in the product UI, then that information is generally available through the REST API or SNMP from those devices. So
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And again, if for any questions, if there's follow-on or you would like to get more information, please reach out. We'd be happy to take those and answer them more clearly if we can.
yes.
Will PNT 360 work with Verge.io hypervisor?
That I actually don't know.
Yeah,
So we'll have
that's
to.
a great question.
Yeah, we'll have to take that offline.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so we will take a look at Verge.io and maybe potentially more to come on that in the future. Thank you. Perfect. Oh, here we go. Can you show an example where you see the timing status of all connected nodes?
So maybe two parts of that. So for example, I think it was down here. So here we have one of the panels that's available here shows sync status of connected devices. So this is coming from one of our Z16s, one of the White Rabbit devices, and it's showing data on the connection status to it. In addition, of course, we did talk about the topology view, which you can see here. So right now, this is really based on configured topology, but we are looking at extending capabilities within this topology view, which may include status information like connectivity and sync state and things like that. So between the metrics that you have and the status panels, you can get some information, and then you can also see from a topology view the mapping of that connectivity.
And that is a good point for the topology view, and also this is also sort of a general question because it's timing status. The timing reference that you have, if we are able to retrieve the information about collected nodes, so say NTP or PTP, for example, which is what we're showing in the topology here. We know the input reference is GNSS, but we know a lot of these connections we're only showing as the network connections because we can pull that status. But there is a 1 PPS and 10 megahertz being fed into the Z16, but it is not present on the topology because it is a discrete hardware signal. So if you are interested in knowing your PTP clients, for example, or your NTP clients, as long as the timing device, the Secure Sync or the White Rabbit is aware of those, we can then provide status on them through here. But also to keep in mind that we're seeing mostly network connections here. We would then have to manage or just know, which is kind of what we're doing now, that the Secure Sync is providing reference signals to the Z16. For those of you who are interested, we had a great webinar last time about the White Rabbit option card that kind of went into how some of that works with White Rabbit. But again, as long as the Secure Sync knows what it's communicating to, you can also build, we might not have the best dashboard for this demo, you can also build your own dashboard that has the statuses of all of your devices on them, so you can see if they're in sync, what they're connected to, those sorts of things.
Right, that's a great point. Is within the dashboarding, you can set up a view, a specific view that's showing status or showing the specific connectivity for the devices that are connected to PNT 360 to have kind of a high level view if that's what you're looking for.
Perfect. This is actually a great question. So what are the differences in capabilities for admin versus non-admin users on this platform? So currently, we are logged in as an admin. As you can see, we can move all of the elements around, even though we didn't intend to. We're also able to get into some of these edit menus to add devices, things like that. An admin role has permissions to edit and view, and then non-admin roles can only see the settings and the status. They can't move things around on the dashboards. They can't create new dashboards. They're unable to change some of these settings or all of the settings. Sorry, not some of the settings. And it's more just a visual.
Yeah, it's right now it's really set up so you have admin, which is really configurable, and then the non-admin are almost in like a view mode kind of approach.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Perfect. I believe we covered that one. We can touch on this. So apologies if I missed this before, but was licensing discussed? Will this be free for several devices, or will a license need to be purchased for each device? And then
So the PNT 360 is, as we talked about, is free to download. All the functionality that we're showing here is freely available with the base PNT 360 package, including unlimited devices connectivity. Really, it's limited to the we talked about the minimum requirements for the system that's running PNT 360. That's really what's limiting the devices that you can configure is memory and storage resources for the database and such. And of course, importantly, is network connectivity from the server that's running PNT 360 to those devices that are being monitored.
Yes, and we touched on it a little bit in the presentation. I do want to reiterate again, it is free. We are offering, we're providing it to help the management and monitoring, but also we would love the feedback on this, on what works, what maybe you would like to see going forward. As we talked about early on in the Q&A here, there are things on our roadmap. We're looking to integrate third-party devices. Those items might be something that we do a fee for potentially. Right. Nothing is set in stone, but everything that you can get today from our website would be available for as many devices as you have. Can you set it so the topology is active, units are labeled, change color based on error or not, connection not stable, and from here be able to drill to a single unit in trouble or faulty?
Yes, so we've had a lot of discussions internally about how interactive and interesting the topology map can be. We don't have a lot of it implemented, but those are a lot of the things that we are talking about, of showing status on here, being able to click through from this to get to drill down into status or dashboards, being able to click to get into configuration, providing different connectivity. So, not just discovered connectivity, but also configured connectivity. So that doesn't exist today, but is great feedback as we're looking at the feature expansion, feature capabilities in the future.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I guess to touch on briefly with the topology, because I know we talked about it. What you see here on the screen is how we laid it out. So when you add all the devices, they will populate over here into a default layout, which may not be the most logical for how you're looking at things. So you can take these elements and move them around as you see fit. We do, in this demo, we are showing a lot of devices local to us here, but we are also talking to a secure sync in our office in France to try to highlight, and we didn't talk about it really, but I guess I'll touch on it now, that you're able to monitor, as long as you have that network communication, you're able to monitor devices globally, which is a huge benefit. So we have laid, we have the ROC COE chain here, or the Rochester chain here. We do have a device in LU. And so we can lay that out how we want to visualize it. If you have a more complex topology, you can lay that out, so how you want to see it. And if you need more, I'm sure our dev team would love to hear feedback on the topology, how you want that to work, what you would like to see improved on this. This is a great starting point. As we touched on earlier, it's very helpful for monitoring, configuring our timing devices, your timing devices, and it's fast to bring up. Whereas in the past, there's a lot of configuration, some custom scripting. PNT 360 allows you to jump in head first and be monitoring your timing devices without too much upkeep.
Yep.
And I think that was our last question. So Dave, thank you very much for joining me again today.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Ron, for having me.
Absolutely. We had a great discussion about PNT 360. As always, if you have any other questions, any comments, any feedback, please send them on to us. We will have some email addresses up. PNT 360 also has a support email on the login page if you have any feedback for the team there. And as a quick reminder, we will be at APCO next week. There will be a booth. If you would like to stop down, if you're there, you can come visit us at the booth. We will have PNT 360 available. Ask all your questions and talk to our wonderful team there. So with that, we are going to close out the webinar. We thank you all again and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. As we wrap up, you'll see one final poll on your screen asking if you'd like a member of our team to reach out and help determine whether PNT 360 or another Safran solution is the best fit for your needs. You'll also find links to share your feedback on the webinar or get in touch with us directly. We truly appreciate your time and interest. Have a wonderful day.